Imagine you have a best friend you play with every single day. You know his voice, his jokes, and his family. But one day, you hear something you weren't supposed to hear. Screams coming from his house. Your friend has a sister. At first, she is just a quiet girl in the background, but slowly she starts acting different. She starts following you in the game, watching you in silence, and never saying a word. Is the bond between this brother and sister a bond of love, or is it a bond of fear? What happens when your best friend suddenly stops coming online? And why is his sister the only one left, sending you messages to join a dark, nameless game? In Roblox, there are some players who can be very dangerous, and you should avoid talking to them if you don't want something terrible to happen to you. Like what happened to the poor boy, Alfarito0214. Who suffered a lot because of a person I'm going to tell you about today. Alfredito tells us that he was a Roblox player who really liked the game Arsenal. He spent hours and hours playing it since it was the pandemic and he had too much free time. This boy was 13 years old, so he didn't have many responsibilities and only dedicated himself to paying attention to classes in the morning and then playing Roblox all afternoon. Alfredito had a friend with whom he played Roblox very often, named David. He was his classmate, so after classes, they always started playing Roblox. Honestly, everything seemed normal. Until one day, his friend David started having problems at home and could no longer play much Roblox with Alfarito, since whenever they talked on a call, loud arguments and screams were heard. But even so, David connected from time to time. Alfarito was very worried about this situation, but he couldn't do anything. One day, one of the few times David logged on to play, he was on a call with Alfarito. They were playing Arsenal and had won many games in a row, so the truth is, they were quite happy. And out of nowhere, while they were playing another game, in David's house, screams from his sister started to be heard. She was asking for help. Alfarito got scared, and David quickly cut the call. That day, Alfarito tells us that very strange things started to happen. A few weeks passed, and Alfarito ended up finding out that David's sister had a serious problem. And it was that thanks to the lockdown of the pandemic, she was mentally struggling. David told Alfarito that she was acting quite strange, to such an extent that she was starting to scare him. The days passed, and Alfarito and David kept playing. But little by little, David became more absent, and every time he returned to play with Alfarito, he was acting stranger. One day, when they went back to playing Roblox, David invited his sister to play. Alfarito also tells us that in Roblox, she had a quite strange appearance. Alfarito didn't like how she looked at all. It seemed quite unsettling to him. David's sister, when they were playing, didn't speak. She stayed still and always went behind David. This seemed quite strange to Alfarito, but he didn't say anything to David. On the call, David didn't talk much either, and from time to time made strange noises. Alfarito suspected that David's sister was doing something to bother him, and that was why he was more absent and strange. So because of that, Alfarito sent a message in the game chat to David's sister, telling her not to be saying anything to David and to stop bothering him. To this, David's sister said nothing to Alfarito. She just stared at him inside the game and sent him a friend request, which Alfarito did not accept because she seemed quite unsettling to him. In the following days, David no longer connected to Roblox. Because of this, Alfarito was quite sad since he had no one to play with and felt quite alone. Alfarito continued like this for a few weeks, playing alone and feeling quite sad. And he knew nothing about David, his best friend. One day, David's sister sends a friend request to Alfarito again, and since he felt quite alone because he couldn't play with anyone, he decided to accept the friend request. And that was a great mistake on Alfarito's part. Because as soon as he accepted the friend request, David's sister sent him 10 messages telling him to join the game where she was. Fast, fast! This seemed quite strange to Alfarito, but even so, he listened to her. He looked at the game and it was one where the image was black and it had no title. It was quite strange. Even so, Alfarito entered the game, and inside the game everything was black, and in the background a white light appeared. Alfarito went to the light. It took a little while to arrive, but he did it. When he arrived at the light, he saw the avatar of David's sister, and she had a very unsettling smile. In front of her was David's avatar, which looked broken and damaged. It didn't have the left hand or the right foot. And above the Roblox avatar, a man appeared, and it said, "Sister." David's sister walked further ahead, and there were two other avatars which said, "Dad" and "Mom." And they were also damaged. They didn't have half of the head. Alfredo, seeing this, got quite scared and started to feel nauseous. He was very worried about his friend David. He thought that his sister had done something terrible to him in real life, but he tried to calm down. Maybe she was just trying to scare him, so he stayed in the game. Alfredo saw the avatar of David's sister, and she kept walking, so Alfredo followed her. Further ahead was Alfredo's avatar, and it looked completely normal. Nothing had happened to it, until David's sister pulled out a knife and started destroying the avatar in front of Alfredo. Alfredo saw all that and felt very uncomfortable. David's sister wrote to him in the Roblox chat, "This is going to happen to you." And Alfredo wrote to her, "I don't believe you." Although everything seemed quite disturbing to Alfredo, he didn't believe her. He thought that she couldn't do that in real life. To which David's sister replied in the chat, "In real life." At that moment, Alfredo's cell phone started vibrating. It was a video call from David's phone. Alfredo got quite scared, but he thought it was a joke that David and his sister were playing on him. So he answered. And when he answered, he saw the face of a girl between 15 and 19 years old who looked very unsettling and had red stains on her face and all over her body. Alfredo stayed in shock. The girl didn't say a single word and focused the camera on the floor. And it was his best friend David. He was lying there, completely motionless, and had marks of serious harm on his body. His left hand and his right foot were not there, just like in the Roblox game. Alfredo immediately felt sick. David's sister walked to another room and the parents were there. She focused the camera on them and they looked just like their Roblox characters. They were badly injured and lying still. Alfredo cut the call. He didn't believe what was happening. He thought he was dreaming. And Alfredo's cell phone started to vibrate again. It was another video call from David. Alfredo answered because he thought he had imagined everything. But when he answered, it was David's sister again, and she only said these words, "Now it's your turn." Alfredo immediately hung up. His heart was beating extremely fast, and he immediately wrote this for us, telling us not to accept requests from people who seem strange or unsettling. And after Alfredo wrote this to us, nothing else is known about him. Guys, what could have happened to Alfredo? Could he still be alive? Hopefully so. Well guys, in Roblox we can see that if we search for Alfredo0214, a person appears but without a photo. I don't know what that means. Maybe it's bugged, or maybe it's something strange. But as we can see, this is supposedly Alfredo's account, where he has 3 friends. Who knows if this girl is David's sister? Hopefully not. But well people, it says here that he started in 2023, even though the story tells us that it started in the pandemic, and the pandemic was from 2020 to 2021. So that's quite strange. Who knows? Maybe the account was deleted and he created it again. But it is quite strange. Well people, he has a game called Alfredo's Place. I tried to look for it to see if there was anything interesting inside, but the truth is, the game is no longer available. Even if you find it, it doesn't show anything related to the story like other games sometimes do. This story isn't just a scary tale, it's a lesson about the invisible door we open every time we go online. Most people think that what happens in a game stays in the game, but as Alfredo learned, your screen is not a shield, it's a window. The most important lesson here is this: curiosity can be a trap. When Alfredo felt something was strange or wrong, his instincts told him to stay away. But because he felt lonely, he ignored that feeling and opened the door to someone he didn't truly know. The 3 rules to remember. Trust your instincts. If an avatar or a person makes you feel uncomfortable, believe yourself. Your gut feeling can protect you. Privacy is your power. In the digital world, your location and your real life are yours to protect. Never let a stranger bridge the gap between your game and your home. The bond of silence. Sometimes the people who say nothing are the ones observing the most. A friend request might look harmless, but it could open a door you didn't expect. The final word. In Roblox, you can reset your character, but in real life, you can't reset a mistake. So be careful who you allow into your world, because once you accept that request, you might not always be able to press Leave Game from the consequences.